Good morning.
Could you introduce yourself for us?
I am Dolfin Doeman, Superintendent of the St. James Division, Jamaica Fire Brigade.
Thank you. All right. So let us go back a little bit into your history. Could you tell us a little bit of how you became a part of the Jamaica Fire Brigade?
Well, way back in 1982, I was a member of staff of the Mount Pito Primary School. I learned from a very good close friend of mine with whom I worked together in the person of former District Officer Cleve Llewellyn that the brigade was recruiting at the time. He had been a firefighter from 1980. And so upon learning that they were recruiting, back then it was the St. James Parish Council's Fire Brigade, I wrote my application and took it in. A few weeks later, I did receive a call to do an entry-level examination, which I turned up and did, and the process started there. I started training on the 1st of November 1982.
Where did you go for your training?
We did our training locally in the parish here.
Oh.
Our lectures were held in the St. James Parish Council's Municipal Building, well, now St. James Municipal Corporation's Municipal Building. Our lecture hall was on the ground floor of that building. Machine drill, foot drills were held at various points around the town, to include places such as Jarrett Park, Freeport areas, and the UDC playing field.
1982, 2022 to 1982, that's 40 years.
Yes, 39 years going into 40 years.
40 years, yes. And from that time, you worked mainly in St. James. But could you basically tell us a little bit about your journey since that time until now?
Well, I started in St. James. Following recruit training, I was placed on a watch. So I worked between Iron Shore Station and the Montego Bay stations over the period. I also had a little stint on the fireboat, Area 3, which came to St. James in 1993, thereabout. So I did a few months on the fireboat at the time. In 1983, I was approached by the acting superintendent at the time that he needed somebody to work alongside Mr. Vincent Allen, who was working in the administrative office at the time. And so I was chosen to join the administrative staff in the superintendent's office back in 1983. I was there for a while. That was in 1983 onwards. In 1985, at the time the transition was being made from the parish councils, 95, from the parish councils to the Jamaica Fire Brigade. So all the posts were now vacant, and persons could apply for any vacant post that they wish to apply for at the time. Incidentally, at the time, I did apply for the rank of sergeant, but the then superintendent looked at my application and said to me, "No, take it back. Apply for the deputy superintendent for a district officer post." Obviously, he was seeing more in me than I was seeing in myself, and so I applied for the post of district officer at the time. I sat the interview in Kingston and was successful, and was appointed a district officer on the 1st of July 1995. At the time, though, I was still doing administrative duties in the superintendent's office, and did that for a while. At times, I was pulled to be a turnout officer for some 1 month, 2 month stints. Back in 2000, though, 2 of the assistant superintendents were retired, and I was chosen to act in one of those vacant posts, and was subsequently appointed to that post on the 1st of January 2003. So I worked as a watch commander. I was appointed a watch commander then, and on 2 occasions I was assigned to act as Deputy Superintendent, St. James. I was transferred in 2004 for 4 months to act as Divisional Commander Trelawney. That was from June to September. I returned to St. James at the end of that period and was transferred again back to Trelawney, I think in April of 2005, to take up the duties of Divisional Commander. I was subsequently appointed to that post in 2007. So I served in that capacity up to 2009. I think it was July then when I was retransferred back to St. James to act as Divisional Commander here. I was subsequently appointed to that post, the post of Superintendent, the following year in 2010.
All right. So during your course after in the brigade, have you ever found an incident scene challenging, or what has been your most interesting or memorable incident scene that you've been on?
There have been a number of memorable scenes, challenging ones, yes. The first memorable one I can recall is one that has stood out in my mind over the years. I was a young firefighter then. I was doing my first stint at the Iron Shores station back in 1983. And it was on a morning sometime maybe between 6 and 7 o'clock. We received a call to the Mao Bay Main Road. That's out on the Iron Shore here. Back then our shift periods were 8 to 4, 4 to 11, 11 to 8. So we responded to that call. It was a call for a motor vehicle accident. But upon arrival though, we saw 2 vehicles which had collided and were on fire. And to add to that drama, there was a body lying on the ground outside the vehicles. And we could clearly see 2 other persons sitting in one of the vehicles in the flames. So as a young firefighter then, that was really a traumatic experience for me. Another challenging, 2 incidents which were similar in nature, that were posed challenges. They were not actual fires, but these were very serious incidents, and these were on both occasions. On the first one, there was while working in Trelawney, there was a tractor trailer transporting LPG fuel, which overturned in the Braco area. This was transporting thousands of gallons of LPG on a Saturday afternoon. So the challenge there was to keep people and the traffic out of the area, to really protect people from themselves. And we were there up to the following day, the Sunday, before that situation was resolved. Fuel was drawn off from it and the vehicle was lifted and taken up and transported away from the scene. A similar one occurred a few years later while in Montego Bay here at the Sanctas Airport roundabout. This one was a petroleum tanker transporting gasoline and other flammable fuels. This one similarly was carrying thousands of gallons of fuel as well, as rolled over right in the roundabout there at the airport. So the challenge there now was to keep people, both pedestrian and vehicular traffic, out of the area. At the same time, recognizing that the airport is right there operating and business has to continue. So alternate routes had to be found for persons to traverse in order to exit and enter the airport without causing any undue danger to themselves. So these are three incidents that really stand out in my mind. There have been many other structural incidents over the years to which I have been involved in, but the good thing is that we have always managed to successfully deal with them.
During your time in the brigade, to reach a point of divisional command, you'd have to develop yourself in various ways. And that's one of the ways that you develop yourself, edify yourself, made yourself as successful as you are in the
the first time when I was promoted to the post of district officer, most of us at the time really had no formal training in the area of management, because now we have to be managing persons without being trained to manage. So the first thing we did was to enroll ourselves in a management class back in 1996. So we did a number of us within the division, within the area, as a matter of fact, because we had persons coming over from Westmoreland and Hanover for that initial supervisory management class, which we sat over here in Montego Bay. And that was our first introduction to supervisory management. Later on, I was put into GC Foster for a month. Well, it was an ongoing course which the brigade had sought to develop its officers. It was operational command course. So most of our officers went through that course, and which was very helpful to us. Later on, we went to other management development courses at Management Institute for National Development, that's MIND, well in Kingston, as well as Mandeville. So over the years, we have had those courses and programs that help to develop us as officers. I was also fortunate to have been chosen to do a hazardous material response training, which was put on by the County Fire Brigade. This was held locally here in Jamaica. Instructors came down to impart the courses to us back in I think that's about 1999. I've also been fortunate to be chosen to be on the Caribbean, as with the Jamaica Defense Force, Caribbean Junior Command and Staff Course back in 2001. And in 2011, I was selected to do the International Divisional Command course at the Fire Service College in the United Kingdom, Morton and Marsh, Gloucestershire, England.
Alright. So during your 40 years in the service, have you found the jobs you've undertaken to be challenging? Have you found it fulfilling? How has your time been in the fire brigade for you?
Yes, over the years I've encountered everything. So there have been challenging circumstances, but I've also found it to be fulfilling. It's a job that I've learned a lot from. I've really learned to deal with difficult circumstances. It has brought out the best in me. Having reached to this point, looking back, not every day one comes here and it's smooth sailing. It's challenging. It's challenging managing persons' resources. There are some days when the resources are not 100% perfect to work with, but there's always a challenge to do what you can do with what you have. And what I've used over the years is something that my training officer said to me while in training. So while we were being given the instructions and the literature on managing fire brigade functions and equipment, I remember on a particular day he said to us, there were 15 of us then, he said to us, gentlemen, what we are teaching you here now is for when you have the ideal. There are days which when you're not going to have the ideal. So what are you going to do? You are going to use what you have. And that is something I've taken with me over the years. So I don't usually sit back and complain that I don't have this and I don't have that. I try to ensure that look around and see what do we have. This is what we have to use. And that is something I would want every young firefighter to take away.
So, as part of your management style, what have you tried to do, especially in the St. James Division, where you've been for the last 12 years? So
yes, thereabouts.
What have you tried to do in terms of how you supervised and how you have gotten persons to work? What do you think has been your greatest asset or accomplishment in this?
I think what I've used over the years is to really let people to be at ease with me. So my style is, if I'm giving an instruction, it doesn't necessarily have to sound like as if it's an instruction. But the respect I give to the people that I lead, I get the same respect from them. And so even when I am giving an instruction per se, it doesn't necessarily have to sound to be an instruction, but people understand that it is an instruction, even without my saying it. And I think that for me has worked because I have gotten the results from the person I lead.
So, looking into retirement, how do you, looking back at your time in the fire brigade, how do you look at it? How do you feel about your tenure so far? Do you feel that all that you set out to accomplish during your time here, you would have gotten to do so?
Well, to be honest, looking back, when I joined the fire brigade, I came here just to work. My thoughts were not to be a superintendent. My thoughts were just to get the work done, and that is what I had applied. So, having reached the level of a superintendent, I think I would have gotten to a point much further than where I had thought I'd have been from the outset. I thought I am quite satisfied with my tenure. If I should live my life over again, I think I'd do the same thing.
You manage 3 stations currently, and you are getting a new station. Do you feel that you are leaving division at a good point right now? Do you find that where you are now, where you're leaving now, everything is basically in the right direction for the division?
I think so. I think yes, that at the present moment, everything is falling in place for the division. We are getting a new station. We got a fireboat a few years ago, fireboat station a few years ago. We have received two new units recently. An EMS site will be opened at Barnett Street shortly. So I think the division has made good progress over the past few years, and I think it's a good point at which I'm leaving it.
Do you think, or what else do you think the fire in St. James could benefit from, the people in St. James could benefit from in terms of expanding resources in the brigade, what do you think we could get as to further bolster our work here in the division?
At the forefront of my mind, I think the people in Southern St. James deserve more. And yes, possible station. So many Southern St. James. I think the coverage in those areas we need to extend. That is something we need to expand. We have to be traveling too far to get to those incidents in those areas, and so that would be a very good thing to see happen for St. James.
All right, a young person wants to become a member of the brigade. What advice would you have for that person? What other encouragement would you have for that person?
For young persons who want to be recruited in the Jamaica Fire Brigade, I would readily advise them, one, be willing to work, be willing to learn, because that is how you are going to maximize on the opportunities that will come your way. Be prepared to be flexible, because that's really how when you're going to be able to grasp the opportunities that come along. Those are my main advice that I would give to young persons wanting to join the brigade.
So I think I have a couple more questions. Let me see. All right. So I was looking back until now, compared to when you just joined the service in 2022, like, have things changed a lot for you? Has there been substantive change between both those times, in 10 years, when you're leaving?
Definitely there have been substantive changes between 1982 and now. The truth is, when one joined in 1982, looking forward, there was no scope in view for promotion. Persons were just there working. Well, we came to work and we worked willingly. But compared to now, when one can see and expect that within a few years there will be a promotional examination for upward mobility, that did not exist then. So for me, that's a very big change. The affordability of training as exists now, that too is a big change that didn't exist back then in 1982. The type of incidents that we respond to now, that comes along also with the training. With that too there has been great changes. Nowadays we respond to a lot of motor vehicle accidents. Yes, but then we did respond to them, but trust me, it was not as no. So for us, that's a big change. With the expansion of developments, the various types of infrastructure and facilities which are now in the parish, that has brought also a very large change in the brigade, because what it has done, it has caused section such as our fire prevention teams to have a lot more to do than we had then. And so that too is, for me, is a big change. The various areas in the brigade as well, there has been developments in those and opportunities. So yes, there have been a lot of significant changes between 1982 and now.
So come Friday, your last, technically your last day of the season.
Well, my last day is really Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
Yes.
But what do you plan to do after this? Any plans? Is it just rest or relaxation?
Well, to be honest, the first thing in my mind is some relaxation, because really I'm looking forward to it. I want to be able to sleep at nights and not listening to a phone to ring, listening for a phone to ring, to get a call that a unit is off action, or to say that we're at a serious incident on the road and I have to get out. Yes, I'm looking forward to not having to tell my wife to look, I have to run out on the road at 2 o'clock in the morning. So while I may think of something as later on, first and foremost now is some relaxation.
We cover everything before, in between, or even after, so I just let you know everything.
Speak freely, speak to Jamaica.
Anything that you want to say, any comments you want to say? Oh yeah, we know that Barney Street is to be open shortly. Is there like a disappointment that you were not able to sit in the chair physically before you left the service?
The truth is no, not a disappointment per se for myself. My disappointment is that we have you people at Freeport working for so long in that type of facility. So my disappointment is that the station was not able to be completed earlier so that you persons who work at Freeport could have been out or are able to be out of there already. So that is my major disappointment. For me, whether or not it was finished, I'll be going now anyway. So for me, it's you people out there that the people out there that I'm really concerned about. But overall, I say it has been a rewarding experience for me. I would encourage any young man or woman looking for a career. The place to work is Jamaica Fire Brigade. I still believe it's the best place to work in Jamaica.